Hello, hello, everyone. We are back for another. Oh, I had my other stream audio on. So today we are having another Tuesday Tracks, and we are going to be looking at the song Break Out, which is not going to be on the record. It didn't make the record, but I know a lot of people like the song. They've seen it live. And I'm really excited to show you guys this track because it is one of my favorites. We're just making sure the stream is all up and going here. And I should switch over. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start by listening to the track. Okay, great. Everything's working now. We're going to start off by listening to the track, the mix that Crystal Algae did, and we're going to do a similar rundown that we did last time with Roses, and there's a lot of cool stuff in this track. So, let's check it out. Oh, let's start at the beginning. So there we have it. Break Out, a rare fade by Chris Lord-Alge. He always tries to get us not to fade our songs. He says the song should have a proper ending, but that one has a fade on it. I forgot about that. So we're gonna kind of do a similar run through that we did for Roses, and I'll start with the drums. This one, all the tracks were replayed. I remember I was messing with guitar tone. So unlike Roses on the chorus, there isn't any original track that actually survived from the first recording. But we're going to start with the drums here. And the drums for this one are pretty cool. We're going to take a look at our drum tracks and then just listen to them, go through some of the different sections. There's some cool... yes, it does have a fade in, William. We're gonna take a look at that too. You know what? Actually, let's do that first. So the fade in. We have that. We have this here. There's the fade in, and that's kind of a EDM technique, like electronic music, or a really kind of poppy thing to introduce a song is having that filter sweep. It's not really a fade in; it's actually the EQ being filtered. And I'm gonna let me try to replicate that real quick on the main track here. So basically, what I was doing was I was just taking the intro part pretty much. So like this, I removed some of the guitars. There aren't any distorted guitars on that part. So we take that part and I just put some kind of EQ on it, and we can really mess with the different types of ranges we're hearing. When you're walking solo, it don't... Just like that. So for that beginning part, it's really just starting with like a low pass filter or high pass filter and just. If you can't see what I'm doing, if you're confused where to look, on this little plugin here, which is just EQ stuff, I'm just sweeping it. So that's what gives it that cool effect. You're basically taking the track and you're filtering through the different ranges of the EQ. So you're starting with just really low, that's why it sounds bassy, and then it gets up into the mid-rangey frequencies up super high. So it creates that kind of elevated build up. And so basically what I did for that is I just ran off a version of the track where I automated this sweep, which means I programmed the computer to, the plugin to do that sweep on its own and then throw that in the beginning. Just like that. So when you see this track down here that's doing that, this is the whole song, This is all the tracks in one stem here. It is really cool. I like doing that. And so let's look at the drums here. These are our, whoops. Do I have something selected here? No. These are our main drums. And let me get rid of everything else that I soloed. Whoops. Okay. So those are just the raw drums right there. I do have a few samples I added in for Chris. So here's a snare sample that we really liked. Let me just... kind of a bigger sample. Yes, William, good question. So this one, and I should recap some of this, so just feel free to ask questions if you're confused, because I know I talked about this in the last stream, but there are definitely some people that will be watching this who haven't seen the first stream I did on Roses. But yes, this started with MIDI drums, and we did the real drums last. So, but I construct the drum beat first with the guitar parts or really with the bass, and then the guitars. So yes, these were the last piece of the puzzle, but I would have had drums here that were somewhat similar to this, giving it the same kind of vibe. And this snare sample we're going to listen to here comes from the MIDI drums. And that's just a snare sample of mine. And there's a few little fills that it plays as well. So for the fills, with the snare sample, you know, we're triggering Nick's drums. We're triggering Nick's drums. So basically what a sample is it's an audio file that plays when, you know what, and I'll just do an example of it here. It's basically Nick's snare drum is going to trigger an audio file to play that's a different snare drum. So if we go to his snare drum here, soloed, and I need to, it doesn't want to play. Oh, there we go. Let's just take this one. So I use a program called Trigger, and we start with a snare like that. It will play. I don't know why. Oh, because I have the sample on it. Let me play the sample one more time. Or the original track. So this is the original track of just the snare. And we'll take a snare drum, and I'll just pick one I have. I have this you guys might like. This is a recreation of a Hysteria snare drum I made. Turn that up so you can hear him. Oh, it's glitching a little bit. And what will happen is the audio from the original track will run through here. And every time it senses, and I'll show you guys, every time it senses the snare being hit, it will then trigger this. See? So now it's playing my sample drum instead of the original snare. So that's this with it on. And here's the original. again. Regular snare mic. Original. Or sample. So it's a way to replace, the original recording you have, and you can add different snares to it. You can edit what you originally have with samples. You can mix them together. So, for example, if I like the mixture of both of them, I could see on this little mix knob I'm using over here on the right side of the screen, I can put it at 50%. And now it's playing them together. So this is a great, sampling like this is a great tool to, change your drums, give them a different sound. Maybe just in certain parts of the song, maybe throughout the whole song. So we had a sample that we liked, and this is what this track is because I wanted Chris to have it. So this is now playing with the other drums. And let me turn off these reverbs first real quick, because we'll get to those. So that's the original drums, original recording, plus the snare sampled. So this is the chorus, intro, and then tight for the verse. Yes, Ben. Trigger is a great program. It's really easy to use and has a lot of great different samples already built in. But I tend to make my own drum samples. So this is the original recording of the drums, and then there's a few additional things we added just to give a little kick to things. So, for example, we have this reverb snare here right in the beginning. And it'd be help if I soloed it. Just a big sound to open it up. And that really works with the intro too, because that filter sweep is bringing us up into the song, and then we hear that is the release of that filter sweep. And this is what it sounds like. Yeah, big release on the verb snare. And this happens, this is the track here with that reverb snare on. So this happens at a few points throughout the song, mainly when the chorus starts. So here's the start of the first chorus, just to give it that. So every chorus we're hitting on that big verb snare. And as we expand the track, we'll really grow in that. I need to turn off my Epic Games because it's just restarting constantly. And there's a few other interesting drum parts as well. We have another reverb snare and a bridge snare. So during the bridge, you'll hear the drums kind of come way down here into a more of a breakdown. So here's the start of the bridge here. So the drums have a tight thing. They go into like kind of a halftime thing. Dun 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 dun. Ba da 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 da. So how do we get that to sound bigger? One thing we use is a deeper sounding snare. Yeah. So that's deeper with a lot of reverb on it and pre-delay. And reverb is basically just simulating kind of a room sound. So a big room. Like imagine if you were hitting a snare drum in a cathedral or something with all that echo. So that, and this is a snare that's tuned down. And tuning is a thing on drums, even though drums are inharmonic and they don't have real note values. If I go back to my snare sample I was showing you guys before, what we can do is we have our sample on one of our snare tracks. And right here on the tuning, I can mess with it and go. So that would give me a deeper snare sound. And then we can also add some reverb. If I can find my good reverb here. Here we go. And now we have that snare sound like we had it before. But now we can add some reverb. So that's how I'm getting that big snare sound. It's something like this. Obviously there's a little more time that goes into it. So when we get to this part in the song and we want a big sounding snare, we do the same thing. We sample the snare drum and then add those kind of elements. And then plus we have this snare as well. Another bigger, longer reverb. So the tail of it, meaning the length of the echo that's coming out of it is longer. And then those two together are like this. It's a pretty massive sounding snare. And then all of these together, we have this. Pretty huge. I'll play it one more time. Another one of our verb snares there. And the rest of it is just regular drums. So those of you who were here for the Rosa stream or caught it later, there's less production on the drums for this song because, as Leslie pointed out in the chat, it's just a really solid groove. So part of that is you want to keep it simple. So the samples and the reverb that I chose for the drums is going to be less intense, and there's going to be less going on, so we can really highlight that groove, especially when it's playing with the bass, which we're going to check out now. So the drums for the most part on this were pretty simple, a few little sparkles and touches here and there, but nothing too major. So for the bass, we had the pleasure of our good friend Neil Jason playing bass, and he's an amazing bass player. He's pretty much played with every artist you could think of, from John Lennon, Brecker Brothers. He played with Eddie Van Halen. He played on Gene Simmons' Kiss records. He plays with Brian Ferry. He's played with everyone. I actually saw him play with Brian Ferry when he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was really cool. Okay, so yes, the bass. So I'll do the bass in a second. So Neil Jason guest played bass on this, and he's an amazing player, and we'll listen to that in one sec. But Dana said, "Is that similar to how Leopard created the drum sound in the beginning of Sugar?" Yeah. So I'll quickly show you. This is how a lot of people make drum samples, and how I do it as well. So this snare sample I was demonstrating to you guys is one where I kind of copied the Mutt Lange sound, which sounds like this. And what he really does is he has, you'll see all my snares I have here. So what he does is he'll take like a regular snare, like something like that, just a regular snare sample, and then he'll add a low snare like this. That's really a tom, like a Simmons tom. Turn that up. So those two will be playing together like this. And then he'll add some type of bigger white noise with it, like this. Yeah, it's like. And obviously this is pretty basic right now because I'm just trying to show quickly, but you can get into, you know, messing with each of these sounds, and what you'll get eventually, if you're something kind of that sounds like this. Use that and then add a low tom to it. So you get kind of. That's really like the kind of Leopard, Hysteria, and Pyromania snare strategy. And then you can tune that how you want it. But it's something along those lines. But yeah, all those drums, people don't realize that record, there's no real drums on it for Pyromania or Hysteria. It's all triggered MIDI. And the only real drums that were played are the cymbals and the hi-hat, because those are really hard to sample, because you really have to capture kind of the sound of the room, and that metal sound is much harder to get right with a electronic sample. So actually all the drums on Hysteria and Pyromania, the toms and the snares, were programmed by Mutt Lange, and those aren't real at all. They're not even samples. So for example, in this session, we have Nick playing the drums, and then I'm simply taking the audio from his snare and using that audio to trigger a sample. For Hysteria, there weren't even snare tracks. He was playing it all, triggering it, like with MIDI, like on a keyboard or with a MIDI trigger. And the only thing that was then recorded with that was the hi-hats and the cymbals. And there's actually a funny video of Phil and Steve admitting to this. It seems like they kind of tried to hide it a bit, but Phil and Steve were doing an interview in Denmark or something, and someone asked them about the drum sound, and they got really awkward, and they were like, should we just tell them the truth? And he was and Phil goes, sure, I don't care. So that they said that, oh yeah, all the drums are just triggered by MIDI. They're not real. But that's a production choice. I mean, that's not because you know, they didn't have a capable drummer. It was because it didn't even have to do with the accident. Pyromania had the same thing. It was just a production choice for how they wanted the drums to sound. Okay, so let's get into the bass. And like I said, the bass was played by Neil Jason, who's played with everyone from the Brecker Brothers to Eddie Van Halen to Gene Simmons to John Lennon, Brian Ferry. And we will listen to his bass part. And we'll just kind of listen through to this because it's really cool. A lot of slap bass. Let me turn it up. I love that fill. That's so cool. So back to the chorus here. Verse. Yes, he is the GOAT, Zach. Yes, a lot of palm muting. I'll explain that some in a second. I just kind of want to listen through to it because that's a good point. There's where our big snare hits. So then it goes back into the chorus, and there's a couple cool fills he does in there, but we can get to that in a bit. So yeah, really slappy and a lot of palm muting, and which William brings up correctly, and that's because just like with Roses, it I have the synth bass as well, and that way we can have a strong. Yes, Leslie, yeah, I know. I love showing you guys this and also listening to isolated tracks. I find it is really fun for some reason. I don't know why. Because you kind of get to, it's kind of like a behind the scenes look. So I wanted him to play slappy, palm muted, get a lot of that accent and high end stuff that was really percussive and would work with the drums so that the synth bass could kind of sit underneath. And this is what we have for the synth bass here. So this would have been, this is played on a keyboard. It would help I keep not soloing things. So that's one synth bass, and then there's another one. This one's kind of more open. There's a longer decay on it, so it's not as quick sounding. It's not as punctual. So these two together are kind of like this. Really deep and low there. It's cool. So basically, the synth bass is what came before Neil Jason's bass. This is kind of was the guide bass. So as Will pointed out before, the original track would have started with MIDI drums and then this synth bass. I can't remember on this track how much I changed it, but usually I'll kind of get a sound to start, and then over time we'll dial the sound in for the synth bass more to what we think fits the song. So this way Neil can play and accent certain things in a more complicated version than what the synth bass is. The synth bass is kind of the simple, bare bones. These are the notes and the rhythm that the bass is playing. And the bass part is what is accenting that. Yeah, the synth bass for this track was something that I played and came up with. And it's honestly one of my favorite things to do with the song is work on bass lines. So let's hear how these sound together, and let me try to get a good little mix so it doesn't sound too crazy. So we'll start here. See, so the synth bass is just doing the simple version, and then, but it's giving that bottom to Neil's bass, which lets him do all that really high-end slapping and muting stuff. Yeah, these sound really good together, actually. I haven't listened to this soloed in a while. So that's even there's a perfect example of Neil doing this kind of little turnaround figure. That little chromatic down down down, and the synth bass isn't doing that, but because the synth bass is just kind of is so much more simple, and it's just giving kind of the outline of what Neil's doing. It still just works so well. Actually, I guess you know what? I think I actually replayed the synth line to follow that figure. So never mind. That's something I will do though. Is once the actual bass is laid down, I'll go back and change the synth bass some. But you guys can kind of get the idea of how the synth bass is just the real kind of framework of the song. You can notice this especially in the verses where he's riffing a lot more in between certain parts like this. So they just blend really well together. And so let's now hear that with the drums. That's really the only thing that's going on in the bass. We have those two synth basses, which are playing the same part, just two different sounds. That's something I like to do as well, is to have two different sounds that complement each other, that aren't too drastic, that work together. And so example in this one, this one's more percussive. This one's a little more open. And so they work really well together, and they work really well with the bass. I kind of have a good mix on these bass parts. I'm just going to quickly group them together here. And let's take a look at the drums with that, and we'll focus on how they're really interacting together. Really groovy. So yeah, the drums and the bass just are really banging together, and the nice thing about the drums too is that Nick is accenting the right kicks, and what I mean by that is that he's not trying to hit constantly with how the bass is. In the verse is a good example, but there's certain big moments where he's using the kick drum to give accent the bass. Right? So for example, in the verse here, let me see. Or that's the bridge. Let me go back a little bit. So we have. So right there he's go dun dun dun, but then it's just 4 on the floor for a bit. Boom boom. Then there he's hitting with the bass. Not hitting with the bass there, then hitting with the bass again. So he's kind of alternating, he's just really highlighting the bass parts that are the important parts, those big hits, instead of just constantly trying to get the kick in there and make it sound too complicated. We'll listen to the bridge real quick, and then we'll move on to some guitars and how those work into the song. There's that huge snare. I should probably turn it down now. See that one more time. So that's how the bass and drums came together. This one, surprisingly, it's funny because Roses on its surface seems a bit simple, seems like a simpler song in terms of the chords and the rhythm, but it has a much more complex kind of drum and bass stuff in terms of different sounds, different things being used. And that's because it is simple, so you can get away with that more. Whereas this, there's a little bit more going on in terms of how the bass line works, how the drums are hitting with the bass. So for the bass and drums on this song, they're much simpler. So those things can really be much more simple. So those things can really be accented properly and work, and not be kind of lost behind too many bells and whistles. Now, let's take a look at the guitars, unless there's any questions on that, which I can always go back. And we'll start off with the chorus, just the main guitar here. Simple. Just accenting the bass parts, and there's a lot of space in this distorted guitar part. You can these are the tracks here. It's one guitar part that's doubled, and I explained that last time, but for those of you who missed it, that means I'm playing one guitar part, and then I'm adding a second one that's playing the same thing, but just to give it a little more depth. Now added with this, we have that little chorus line part. Or sorry, this isn't the chorus line. This is the is another part of the riff. It's just that with a different with a different tone. And so these parts are really kind of together as one, and playing this live, I would play these both together live, but I wanted a little bit of a different sound for that re-entry of this guitar part. So together they make up one riff, but I chose to do them separately in order to have a little bit of a variance on the sound. Which is pretty cool. It just gives it a little more flavor, you know, to have those two different sounds working together. Now down here is where we have our little funky line. And that's just clean sound. And you can see how the main guitars, this is really sitting in the space that's being created by them. So they're not all happening at the same time. So if we play them together, it sounds like this. So Leslie asked, did the guitar riff come first, or did you come up with it based off Neil's playing? No, this I came up with first. So these are the chords, the chorus. Neil would have been playing to this. I would have had this done and the synth bass done as the parts. It's a good question. But the riff, usually when I'm creating a song, we have the guitar, kind of a rough guitar that goes down. Then I'll do the drums and bass with it. And that way I can have the song laid out how I like it. And then that's when I'll go back in and start re-recording things. So the little funky chorus line, and then we have some more guitars. Those are the three main parts. And then the other guitars are really there to help accent everything. So we have a clean guitar. And that one just gives it a little shimmer, kind of. I'll put those up a little louder so we can hear them. And then last but not least, we have there's just a little pedal, a funk pedal. That's really kind of playing with the rhythm of the bass. So it's like accenting the rhythm of the bass but higher up, and it's just a single note, so it's not even really playing the chords or the harmony. It's pretty cool. It works. It works well. So then that's what that's for, and then together these all sound like this. And another thing that's happening is something I like to do a lot for funkier guitars like we have in the top, and I'll do a whole bit on the keyboards as well on their own, but there is a keyboard part I want to highlight that is playing with our little so we have just this keyboard playing that as well. So that keyboard is playing this little funk guitar riff, and that's just to give it some more percussion and a little just like sparkle on top. So the keyboard's much more tight. It's really... So I'll get rid of that keyboard for now. We'll do a deeper dive on those in a second. But let me play the entire chorus with the guitars and the drums and bass. And we'll throw in the... Whoops, I accidentally put everything in. Well, I'm going to turn everything down a little bit here. So that's where the that's how everything sits there in the chorus. And then we get to the guitars in the verse, which are very very simple. We just have one guitar part, and it's just a doubled guitar. So that in there with the other stuff sounds like this. In the verse, we're going for simple there because it's just there's a vocal over it. It's groovy and it's just tight. So we just have the guitars accenting with the bass thing. So that's the verses. The verses are pretty simple. And we have the pre next. And the pre guitars are pretty fun. We have our main pre-chorus guitar, which is just the power chords. So that's, if I play that with the bass, that is really just, you know, playing along, doing exactly what the bass is doing. So simple, just keeping kind of the groove, the little bit of it's a little bit shuffly, not quite a shuffle, but just keeping the groove. Then we have these clean guitars that are similar to the chorus, which are really just supposed to be, you know, subtle kind of funk part. And that with this is, you know. Which is cool. It's just adding some texture, adding that funky element, something moving underneath. And then we have our final two guitars here. And these are accenting the chords, the power chord. So those are double stops that are just accenting the chord. And then at the end, just giving them more texture. And the final bit is when it gets into the big hit for the end, we have a clean guitar. Bam, bam. So then these all together. Let's hear them all together now. I'll turn those pre's up, those clean up real quick so you can hear them. Yeah, they're just hitting with that da da to give it that big power up. When everything's hitting together. And we'll hear that with the bass and the drums now. Chorus. Back into the verse. And the second verse, there's a slight variation, so it's not originally the first verse was just one guitar part. On the next verse, the second verse, we're adding in some clean guitars, just to give it a little bit more variation and build it. So we have. These are coming in between the... And there's a little verse lead part at the very end. And that's actually accenting a vocal part we'll hear in a sec. So here's the verse with the cleans and everything. let's hear the second verse with the drums. So, those are the main guitars for everything. Then we get into the bridge. In the bridge, we have some cool stuff going on. We have the main bridge guitars. So those are the main guitars that are playing in the bridge. And then we have a clean guitar that's accenting that that one hit in the middle. Just for that one hit, so that when we get to it, we have it. Turn those up a little more so you can hear them better. And then we have this other bridge part here, which is a bridge lead part, which is doing some whammy stuff. It's crazy whammy bars. So it's a whammy bar. It's a little muted pick thing, and then a slide. And the last bit we have is a lead part here, just for the very end, which is just a pinch harmonic. And then those all together are like... And there's the whole bridge of the guitars. We'll play that with everything now. I really like this bridge. It's cool. And then the solo part is over the chorus. And we're going to look at the solo now. I'm not bummed. I mean, I think that we had a bunch of great songs, and if anything, it's a testament to the record that this one isn't on it, because this one is one of my favorites. But we'll figure out something to do with it. And it's fun because before the record's out, I can play this one for you guys. I have to wait for the other ones. So we start off with, before the solo even starts, I do a classic kind of Van Halen-y, palm muted hammer-on pull-off slide. Let me mute these other things first. Right here. That's cool. mute these chorus guitars real quick. So that's just our intro into the solo, is that right there. And then we have the actual solo. That's a fun, short but sweet solo. And I'll just play everything now to the end. And what I'm going to do is I'll highlight the... I will highlight the end solo that's on here as well. Let's hear it from the bridge. Chorus after it just goes so it's bridge solo over the chorus then back into the chorus. And here comes the end solo. I'll highlight these for a second because they're really cool. We have this guitar. So it starts off with just two kind of whammy up guitars. And this solo is really trying to play with the vocal and accent with the vocal, and I'll actually play the vocal. We'll listen to this once through kind of loud, and then I'll play it with the vocal. So the song's actually has ended long before this solo ends. But I'll play with the vocals real quick. We'll do a whole deep dive in the vocals, but you can hear how it kind of works with the vocals. It's playing some of the melody lines. It's just like a fun, exciting end solo, you know. Break down, break through, do what you wanna do. Break down to keep the spirit alive. Break down, break through, do what you wanna do. Break down to keep the spirit actually going to do the vocals now. And that's really all the guitar parts. Kind of a simple structure to the guitars, but on this one there's a lot of fun stuff happening with them. And now we will. The tone is so good. Well, thank you. That's the Axe Effects. The Axe Effects has great tones. So we're gonna take a look at the vocals. And first things first is we got the verse. Now these are going to be completely dry. For those of you who saw the Roses one, usually on everything, there would be things called plugins which affect the sound. It's EQ or adding effects, just basically adding effects that help, make the audio sound more lively and active. So I'll do a quick example on Zach's vocal. So we have his one lead track of the verse.
When you're walking solo, it don't feel so bad. People trying to tell you, baby, you ain't all that. Got me like, I want it.
Where is it?
I need it.
Oh, here we go.
Then they'll come chasing, but we'll never be back.
So something that Chris would do when he's mixing is add an effect. First he would EQ, and then maybe add an effect like delay or reverb. And is my Pro Tools going to crash? No, it's not. That would have been bad. So here's an example of kind of something. So I'll play the dry real quick.
When you're walking solo,
so this is regular.
It don't feel so bad.
Thank you, Joseph.
When you're walking solo, it don't feel so bad. People trying to tell you, baby, you ain't all that. Got me.
Here's with the EQ and stuff on it. And I'll turn it down a little because it's going to be louder.
When you're walking solo, it don't feel so bad. People trying to tell you, baby, you ain't all that. Got me like, I want it. I need it. Then they'll come chasing, but we'll never be back.
So this is compressing it. It's putting EQ, which means I'm highlighting certain frequencies. So for example, I could take this track and
when you're walking solo,
take more bass
it don't
out of
feel
it.
so bad.
So it's higher sounding.
People trying to tell
more
you,
bass.
baby, you ain't all that. Got me like, I want it. I need it.
See up there, I'm adding more bass. Here I'll put more high ends. It's higher.
When you're walking solo.
So this is the type of thing you would do to carve out a section, and then as well as adding, a delay or something or a reverb. I went over that more in depth in the last stream I did, but you can just take like a simple delay and.
When you're walking solo, it don't feel so bad. People trying to tell you, baby, you ain't all that. Got me like, I want it. I need it. Then they'll come chasing, but we'll never be back.
And those are all things to just, make the voice stand out and make it more exciting. And so these are all the raw tracks where there's none of this on it. And the verse is simple. We just have a lead vocal and a double. So Zach sings one, which you just heard, and then he'll try to copy exactly how he's saying it. Whoops, I just turned that down. And it sounds like this.
When you're walking solo, it don't feel so bad. People trying to tell you, baby, you ain't all that. Got me like, I want it. I need it. Then they'll come chasing, but we'll never be back.
Sounds great. And on the verses, we also have a background part here.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Little oohs to throw in between his singing. So we'll hear that one more time.
When you're walking solo, it don't feel so bad. People trying to tell you, baby, you ain't all that. Got me like, ooh, I want it. Ooh, ooh, I need it. Then they'll come chasing, but we'll never be back.
And that is the verse vocals. And we'll hear that with everything now.
When you're walking solo, it don't feel so bad. People trying to tell you, baby, you ain't all that. Got me like, ooh, I want it. Ooh, ooh, I need it. Then they'll come chasing, but we'll never be back.
Sounds pretty good to me. And the pre-chorus is where, just like with how we did with the track where, you know, the verses are kind of much tighter and the production is simpler and then it expands as it gets to the chorus, we'll do the same thing with the vocals. So now for the pre, there's a few more parts. We have the main pre-vocals.
We gotta fight.
Oh, let me mute this stuff. I always forget to do that.
We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Don't make excuses, don't give them control. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say.
So that's the main vocal part. And for the pre, to start building it into the chorus where we have a lot of vocals happening, we'll now add some harmony to that.
We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul.
So that's Zach on his harmony part. I'll actually put those together here.
We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Don't make excuses, don't give them control. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say.
We have one more harmony right at the end that we didn't include, which is this.
Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say.
A little bit of a higher one there.
Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say.
And those are all the lead parts. So there's the lead and then there's the line harmony that Zach is singing. Then we also have background vocals. And I'll play each of them individually. They're different parts. One is usually the way we do our background vocals is we make a bunch of tracks and split them into 3. So sometimes that's 12 and we'll do 4 of each harmony. So for example, this is going to be, what we'll sing for our harmonies is we'll do one that's just singing the melody that Zach is singing, then one that's doing one harmony, and then a third that's doing another harmony. So this is our vocals of, I believe on this song, it was Nick, Zach, and I just singing Zach's melody with his lead vocal.
Don't make excuses, don't give them control.
Now, Zach is singing, you can hear in that way really high up. He's doing the octave, and then I believe Nick and I are doing the lower, the same register.
Don't make excuses, don't give them control.
And then we have another harmony.
Don't make excuses, don't give them control.
That one sounds really good. And then the final harmony.
Don't make excuses, don't give them control.
So when we put them all together, we get a big sounding background vocal.
Don't make excuses, don't give them control.
Oops, I have to plug in my computer. That's how I'm reading chat. 1 second. So an easy way to think about the harmonies is it's really you're just creating a chord like you would on a piano or something, but with the vocals, and you can really hear that when you hear them isolated.
Don't make excuses, don't give them control.
And that now combined with everything provides a really great accent for that line. So here's the pre-chorus vocals.
We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Don't make excuses, don't give them control. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say.
And we have a gang vocal that's accenting the we say, which all the gang really means is that we're not trying to do harmonies or do it, sing kind of properly. We're just trying to make a really loud sound to accent it. That would be.
Give it up, we say.
Yeah.
Give it up, we say.
So very aggressive,
We say.
like cavemen.
We say.
And then this is how it all comes together with everything in the pre-chorus.
We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Don't make excuses, don't give them control. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say.
Pretty cool. And now I'll play it all together.
We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Don't make excuses, don't give them control. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say.
Powerful. Big background vocals. And even without any the polish on it, just the raw tracks, sounds pretty good. Now we have the chorus, and we'll do the same thing. Let's go through the lead vocals, and then we'll go through everything else.
Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive.
Now, these are separated into two parts just for Zach's comfort while recording, so we get the best performance. So he's singing one half here, and then the second half here on a separate take. So I'll play them all together.
Break out,
Very
break
high
through,
vocal part. He was very mad at
do
me.
what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive.
And along with that, the whole thing has a line harmony that he's singing on it as well. Whoops.
Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive.
And then those together, we got this.
Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive.
It's a really cool harmony, and the interesting thing about vocal harmonies is that you can actually get away with a lot of dissonance in them. So some of those intervals there are like seconds, or they're not your standard, just like how you hear a chord, like thirds and fifths and sixths and things like that. And but it creates that kind of much more bluesy sound. And the vocal harmonies, because of the way people listen to music, you're kind of, the way we've been trained to listen to popular music, meaning rock or pop or whatever, is you're hearing the track and then you're hearing the top lining of the vocal. So you can get away with more interesting harmonies in the vocal parts than you would necessarily get away with if I did those on guitars or in keyboards or the chords themselves. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, that's a really cool harmony part. I haven't actually listened to these tracks in a while, so it's cool to hear them again. And then we have our chorus background vocals doing the breakout part.
Break out, break through.
And these are, I believe, the same part, but
Break out, break through.
so we have one, which is the melody part.
Break out, break through.
Yeah, so what we're doing in the background vocals is one of them, this one, is singing what Zach is singing in the lead parts here. And the second one is singing what he's singing in the harmonies. So that way we liked both these harmony parts. So then we're accenting them again with the background vocals. And so it sounds like this. Let me play it all together.
Break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through. Do what you
pretty big. And we'll just add in our stuff since we've kept building on everything. We'll just hear what it all sounds like together.
That we say, break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. When you want to slow down, gotta keep on track.
Sorry, I'm being distracted a little bit. We have, so now that we've listened to the chorus, we have a few other little harmonies that are then added as the song progresses. So in the second verse, just like how we added the clean guitars, we're adding some new harmonies in here. So let's listen to the second verse lead.
When you want to slow.
And let me take out the tracks, which I keep forgetting to do. Hopefully, as I do these streams more, I'll start remembering that.
When you want to slow down, gotta keep on track. Never gonna calm down, baby. That's where I'm at. Got me like they're watching.
And remember, we had our oohs in there as well, so I'll play those. The same oohs are in there.
Want to slow down, gotta keep on track. Never gonna calm down, baby. That's where I'm at. Got me like, ooh, they're watching. Ooh, ooh. I'm feeding on it. Can't tame the hunger. Need my fix all day.
So yeah, I kind of gave it away. So there's that a gang vocal again on the all day.
Fix all day.
And then on top of that, we have a total harmony on this ending part.
Need my fix all day.
So we got the need my fix.
Need my fix.
And that's Zach just doing harmonies, and then the gang ends with it.
Need my fix all day.
And if you remember, I have the lead guitar playing that as well. Here.
Need my fix all day.
So it's accenting with those guys.
Need my fix all day. We gotta find.
Which is kind of cool. The rest of the vocals are pretty much the same. So we'll just listen through till we get to the bridge part. It'd help if I had the vocals on.
When you want to slow down, gotta keep on track. Never gonna calm down, baby. That's where I'm at. Got me like, ooh, they're watching. Ooh, ooh. I'm feeding on it. Can't tame the hunger. Need my fix all day. We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Don't make excuses, don't give them control. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say, break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive.
Now, the bridge, which has some cool vocals. So let's just listen to the lead of the bridge first.
You don't have the guts for me. Don't got skin in the game. You don't have the heart to put it all into play. Oh!
Zach going Michael Jackson mode at the end there.
Oh! 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 Oh!
I gotta use this as a vocal sample.
Oh!
So we'll the only thing happening here with him by himself is there's a harmony at the very end here we can hear.
You don't have the heart to put it all into play.
Yeah, so just harmonizing that last little tail off. Yes, exactly, Kevin.
You don't have the heart to put it all into play. Oh!
Okay. And then the only thing else is we have a big gang vocal that sings with him sometimes during the bridge, and I'll play that on its own right now.
You don't have the guts for me.
Very deep.
You don't have the heart.
And then and then to bring it into the solo, we do a little sweeping ooh that goes up. That's fun. And we combine that with Zach's little Michael Jackson, but we got. That's funny. So let me play that all together, the vocals.
You don't have the guts for me. Don't got skin in the game. You don't have the heart to put it all into play. Oh!
I remember doing these. These were really fun to do. And then we'll hear all of that together, and then it's pretty much on to the end for the vocals. The production of these vocals is simple but powerful. A lot of gang vocals, a lot of big harmonies, just going with Zach and making it really kind of anthemic.
Alive. You don't have the guts for me. Don't got skin in the game. You don't have the heart to put it all into play.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it should be. We should make a soundboard, and one of them should be Zach doing all his ad libs that I have him do. There's a new song that we're working on that'll be on the next album, not the one that's going to be coming out, but the next one that has so many ad libs in it. I might be able to play some of that for you guys at some point.
All into play.
So those just lead into there, and then we have another chorus, or regular chorus.
Break out, break through.
And I agree, Kevin, it's always fun.
No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive.
Now for the end, we have some backgrounds that are doing a new part for the ending. And let me mute so we can hear them alone.
Break out, break through. Do what you want.
These are very, like, you can almost hear like a keyboard playing these.
Break out, break through. Break out.
I'll go through the different harmonies because I actually have all these up here, so you can see how. Let's see.
Break out, break through. Break out, break through.
Okay, I see. So here's one of our backgrounds.
Break out, break through.
Here's another one.
Break out, break through.
So this is something I do sometimes as well, is I have us sing a more kind of gangy vocal that's all of us singing, and then one that's just Zach. So then together they would be.
Break out, break through.
So there's one of him that's just singing parts by himself, and then a gang. And then we have the harmony.
Break out, break through.
And you can hear someone going really high there, like a falsetto.
Break out,
Oh,
break through.
that's Zach.
Break out,
And then this is us all.
break out, break through.
And then the final harmony.
Break out, break through.
So together, there's a real kind of chordy sound to it.
Break out, break through. Break out.
but it's still powerful.
Break out, break through. Break out. Break out.
And then there's just a lead that's thrown on that as well.
Break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. Break out. To keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. Break out. To
Yeah, it's kind of like Queen vibes. And Zach said, "I love this harmony." Yeah, I it's so funny. Like, I haven't listened to this in so long. I mean, I've listened to the song, but not the stems. Like, I haven't had the session up in so long, and it's so funny because how you just like remember. I remember I remember it taking us forever to figure out what this was and how it would sound good, and doing it like over and over again.
break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. Break out. To keep the spirit alive.
And that's something I'll explain real quick that I haven't gone too in depth on is how we come up with the harmonies, and there we come up with them multiple ways. You know, sometimes I'll sit at a keyboard, and my keyboard that's right below me here. I don't think you guys can see it, and I'll figure out like, okay, we're starting on G, so that means and it's a G chord, so that means we want a G note and a B note and a D note, and we'll kind of come up with the harmony more like surgically theory like that. A lot of times the best ones I think we come up with there's been some good ones like that method. So the best harmonies are ones where Zach can kind of find where like the harmony sits comfortably, or it's Zach, Nick, me, you know, just figuring out like using our ear and coming up with something that's a little less conventional that you wouldn't necessarily just find on a keyboard. So sometimes Zach will just like spit them out and be like, oh, we should do this harmony, that harmony. It's like, oh, that works great. Sometimes they're a little harder. Sometimes I might have an idea right away, or Nick might have one week. Because usually when we're coming up with these harmonies is when we're recording the vocals. So like for these backgrounds, this was Nick, Zach, and I all together coming up with them. And a lot of times we re-record them because you think it sounds good. It works on paper, you record it, and then you're listening to it back, and you're like, there's something not quite right with that. It's too this, or it's too that, or it's dissonant or whatever, and it's not working. So let's just play the ending now with everything in. The only thing we don't have is keyboards, which I was saving for last, and we'll hear that, how that works out.
Break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. Break out. To keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. Break out. To keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through. Break out.
Honestly, that's such a good thing to do, and I always try to do that also, like harmonizing with whatever you hear in the car, because or finding the harmonies, it helps so much when you need to do it for your own melodies. Yeah. So there's one more thing about this which I didn't highlight that I forgot about until I scrolled down, and since we're getting into the keyboards, we'll take a look at it. Going along with the vocals, I'm going to quickly group these guys up together. Actually, I don't really have to, but we'll just do it anyway. Going along with those breakout, breakthrough lines is this. So that's playing the same exact notes as the vocal harmony, which I'll play so you can hear.
Break out, break through. Break out. Break out, break through. Break out. Break out, break through.
that's just something there that's giving it a little more texture and elevating it a bit more. I'll play everything together with that actually. What is soloed? Okay, this. Oh, something else is soloed. Click for some reason is soloed.
Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. Break out to get the
Just adding a little bit of texture there.
Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. Break out to get the spirit alive.
So we have some keyboards too. So the first keyboard is in the chorus, and it goes like this. And that's just jamming with the drums and the bass, you know. It's just playing the chords, nothing special. And then, like I mentioned before, we have our percussion synth that's playing with our funk guitar in the chorus. So in the chorus, we have our little, whoops. So that's playing as well. No keyboards, just synth bass in the verse. And then we have a separate keyboard pad in the pre-chorus. So yeah, here's our pre-chorus.
Put on a show. Don't make excuses. Don't give them control. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say.
That's actually a really nice keyboard sound. I gotta remember what that is. I gotta look at the old session and see. And the other thing is we have that same keyboard that's playing the funk guitar matching the funk guitar in the pre-chorus too. So here's them together. Whoops. So just providing that accent. So all together we got.
We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Don't make excuses, don't give them control. Nothing can the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say. Break out, break through. Do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through.
And those are all the tracks there. And I want to play the song one more time. And that's everything that's in the track. It's a really fun track. I want to play the final mixed version now again. And if there's any questions you guys have or anything else you want me to look at, we can do that in the next 5 or 10 minutes before we finish up here. This has been really fun. Like I said, I haven't looked at this session in a while, so there was some interesting stuff in here that I don't remember doing. But we'll give this song a listen now that we've heard everything.
When you're walking solo, it don't feel so bad. People trying to tell you, baby, you ain't all that. Got me like, I want it, I need it. Then they'll come chasing, but we'll never be back. We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Don't make excuses, don't give them control. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say, break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. When you want to slow down, gotta keep on track. Never gonna calm down, baby. That's where I'm at. Got me like, they're watching. I'm feeding on it. Can't tame the hunger. Need my fix all day. We got a fire, gonna put on a show. Don't make excuses, don't give them control. Nothing can get between the heart and the soul. When you wanna give it up, we say, break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. You don't have the guts for me. Don't got skin in the game. You don't have the heart to put it all into play. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. No need to follow, keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. Break out to keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through, do what you wanna do. Break out to keep the spirit alive. Break out, break through. Break out.
And that's it all put together. Yeah, I love that song. Well, thank you, Kevin, for that comment. And yeah, I'm gonna keep doing these. These are really fun. I was kind of busy this past week, so I didn't do any kind of fun streams. But I want to try to do one on Thursday. I'll post about that if I do that, and we'll be doing another deep dives next week as well. I'm not sure what song we'll be doing, but we're gonna do that, which will be fun. And thank you everyone for joining me, and those who are watching this later, I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys again soon. I'll be posting about my next live stream very shortly. So, oh yeah, it says do what you want in the uh this was before we had the lyric breakout. So, I had originally titled the track "Do What You Want" because the do what you wanna do. So we had that lyric, but we didn't have all the lyrics. That was kind of our gibberish lyric. So that's why the actual file, as you can see up here, is "Do What You Want." In fact, before I got on to stream this, I was like, where is this session? Because it wasn't called Breakout. So I was like scrambling trying to find where it actually was because that's the file name. Yeah, I agree, Leslie. I like showing this to everyone, and it's really fun to go back and listen through to it. And I love hearing isolated tracks. So I'll see you guys next time. Like I said, I might be doing a fun stream coming up on Thursday or Friday. I'll be posting about that. And hope everyone has a really good night. See you guys.